Hi, everybody. My name is Emily Cohan, and some of you know me. I'm the founder of It's Great Media. We do corporate video for startups and digital signage. If you know any startups that need an awesome corporate video, you should have them talk to me. I was really excited, actually, when Matthew asked me to introduce the next speaker, Dr. Steve Benz, co-founder and CEO of 5.3 Genomics. I think 5.3 Genomics is actually one of the most exciting companies at Santa Cruz right now. And I think we'll look back years from now and say, oh man, how cool was it? This is something that ended up affecting a lot of people and saving lives. So just briefly, 5.3 Genomics is a company that's developing some exciting tools for DNA sequencing, including the first ever integrated tumor browser. And we'll see what Dr. Steve decides to talk about. Maybe we'll find out more about that. Steve got his bachelor's in computer science from Wheaton College and a Ph.D. and MS in biomolecular engineering and bioinformatics from UC Santa Cruz. Steve also loves, and I found this out from the 5.3 Genomics website, Steve also loves cooking, rock climbing, and plays over 6 different musical instruments. And maybe he'll share with us what his favorite musical instrument to play. Please welcome Dr. Steve Benz.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction. I didn't bring any instruments today, so you're just going to have to listen to me talk instead. But so yeah, I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of 5.3 Genomics. And briefly, what 5.3 Genomics is we are a cancer genomics company that specializes in analyzing genomic data from tumors, comparing that data to a patient's blood to find all the differences that have occurred in the tumor since it occurred. And then we use that information to be able to pinpoint treatment options that are most applicable for that patient. So this is truly personalized medicine for each and every patient. And I'm really excited about this, and I want to give you a little bit of history, sort of how I got involved in this field and in genomics in general, and then I'll talk briefly about the company. So growing up, I was really into computers. My background is computer science. I was, sort of an amateur. I toyed around with programming, tried to teach myself a little bit when I was young, and then took my first programming class in high school. But it wasn't really until I got into undergraduate and I went to Wheaton College, which is just a small liberal arts college in Massachusetts, that I really got involved in genomics. And Wheaton is, like I said, is very small. The computer science program there has maybe 2 or 3 graduates a year. So I was really lucky to get to know the faculty member in charge of the computer science division. And he came up to me in my first year and said, I'm working on this really interesting problem. Is this something you might be interested in working on me with? He said, and his background was in natural language processing. So that in computer science, that's the field where you try to figure out all the different parts of a sentence and what a word means. It's basically the technology that something like Siri is built on top of. So he looked at this and said, well, okay, I know how to parse out a sentence. I know how to parse out all the words. And we have all this DNA information that's coming out. It's a bunch of A, C's, T's, and G's. So what if we think about it like a sentence without any spaces and a lot less letters? Can we find interesting parts of that sentence that might be key to understanding how organisms work? So he and I basically worked together to write algorithms that would search these genomes of small organisms to identify where the genes might occur and where the regulatory regions of these genes might occur, and gave researchers tools in order to search these very quickly and find interesting features. So when I graduated in 2005 from undergraduate with a computer science degree, but I also pursued biology and chemistry as well because I got so interested in genomics. But genomics was not really a field in 2005. I mean, the human genome was sequenced in 2001, and UCSC played a really integral part in that. And I'll talk about that briefly later. But I was looking for jobs, and there wasn't really anything out there. It was very academic at the time. I wasn't really interested in going back to school. I had just finished my undergrad, and so I wanted to really get out into industry. So I got a job at a small web company in Boston, And it was a web company that was building feedback forms for like restaurants and retail spaces, right? So this is something I was not interested in at all, but it was a job, and it was 2005. You know, the tech crash had still sort of there was lingering effects of that, so it wasn't a great environment for finding tech jobs. But you know, I was lucky, and they took a chance on me. And so during that time, like I said, it was a small company, 20, 25 people, and I learned a tremendous amount while I was there because the founders of the company were extremely open about how they ran that company. So I got to see firsthand how you treat employees at a small company, how you foster innovation, how you sell products to customers that customers actually want to buy. And this is a company that was founded in 1999, and they survived the tech boom and crash. So obviously they were growing organically. They knew enough about how to build a business. So I learned so many lessons there about what to do and actually what not to do. And I got to experience their failures and learn from their mistakes as well as their successes. And I think that was a great experience and a great learning experience for me, even though it had nothing to do with genomics or bioinformatics, which is ultimately what I was most passionate about. So after a few years there, I decided I wanted to go back to school and pursue my graduate degree, and I was lucky enough to get into UC Santa Cruz. I immediately went to David Hausler because of not only because of his reputation, but because of the work he was doing. And he sat down with me and said, listen, I have all these different projects going on, but there's this really small project that we're just starting up. It relates to cancer. We've never really done anything in cancer before, but we're working with a really bright medical oncologist at UC San Francisco who's running a really innovative clinical trial. And this clinical trial is looking at breast cancer patients and using genomic data to try to identify why a breast cancer patient might respond to a particular therapy. So they'd take biopsies before and after treatment for these patients, and then we would look at the changes that occurred in those patients over time and use those to teach algorithms to identify what's key, what are the key features of those tumors that mean that patient is going to respond to a therapy. So myself and one of my co-founders, Zach Sanborn, started working on this problem. UCSC is really well known for genomics, like I said. David's lab was responsible for helping assemble and save the Public Human Genome Project in 2001, and as a result, UCSC got to post the first human genome sequence on the internet, which is a huge honor. And so we thought, well, can we capitalize on some of the tools that UCSC has built, like the genome browser for visualizing things, to help visualize cancer data in new and innovative ways. And so we used that framework to build what we called the first ever cancer browser. And the cancer browser allowed us to take these patients that were involved in this clinical trial, visualize their data in new ways, and then try to pinpoint genes or pathways that were critical for their response to treatment. So we were really excited about this. We found some really interesting results and published a few different papers, got involved. Eventually the lab grew and grew and grew. It grew from when I joined, it was like 4 people in the cancer group. And I think when I eventually got my degree, it was like 20 or 25 people. We were filling up rooms. So it was great to see that group build up from the beginning and really, really innovate and build really useful tools for cancer genomics. Myself and, like I mentioned, one of my co-founders, Zach Sanborn, when we both came into UCSC, neither of us really wanted to pursue a career in academics. We knew that almost immediately going into graduate school. We were there to learn as much as we could about the sciences and then move off to industry. Myself, it had never occurred to me to start a company ever. It was like, well, that's something those guys in Silicon Valley do. I'm not Mark Zuckerberg. I'm already too old for that. Sorry. So. It just does not seem possible for me to do this. I'm not a business person, I'm a scientist. So there was an amazing program at UCSC when we were there. That was a center that was created called the Center for Entrepreneurship. And there were some key people that were involved in that. And one of the pieces of that program was this program called VC 1-to-1. And they brought in venture capitalists, sat us down with VCs, and we got to pitch them ideas, and they would give us feedback about what they thought. So we sat through probably 2 or 3 of these VC meetings. It was me and Zach, and David was there on occasion when he could make it, and we'd pitch these VCs. And that was really, really interesting because it was clear that they were very interested in what we were doing. They saw they saw good potential in it. But their response was always like, well, when do you think this is going to be ready? And we'd be, very honest about it and say, well, you probably won't be able to use this for 5 years, maybe 10. So we learned over time of not only how to pitch our project, but how to make it appeal to venture capitalists, and how to change our focus towards making something that we could turn into a company. At the same time, that the same Center for Entrepreneurship was actually running classes and seminars about, here's important things to know when you start your company. Make sure you protect your IP rights. Make sure you, talk to lawyers when you get started up to make sure you have the right, corporate structure. And here's a bunch of tax advice you need. And so we attended all of those. We were super interested in starting a company, and as time went by, we started to realize, okay, this is something we can actually do. We're capable of doing this. And then we happened to meet a great investor down in LA that really saw promise and potential in our work. He was an angel that was not looking for the 18th month exit, but was really looking for the long term. Let's help people in healthcare and help people that have cancer now. And so over the last 3 years since we've built the company, we're finally at the point now where we're actually helping patients. We're getting tumor DNA from them, we're sequencing it, we're doing the analytics, and we're finding the best treatment out and actually improving these patients' outcomes. So we're really excited about this, and UCSC was a huge part of what made that possible, and we're really excited to grow and build this company in Santa Cruz. So thank you all for listening.